Hi, I'm Ken Pfalzgraf, candidate for the AADUSD Unified School District Board of Trustees. Welcome to my last campaign video, Charter Schools Part 3. This video is really important because it's one of the hinge issues of this campaign. You'll remember in the first two videos I did on charter schools, number one was a brief overview, talked about funding, talked about the reason why charters were developed. In number two, we saw three different models that typically are followed in development of charter schools. A charter conversion, which a district converts a school to a charter school. Next one is kind of the hostile takeover of charters, where somebody comes into your district, petitions you, opens up a charter, and then takes your students. And number three, specifically the AADUSD model, in which you open up remote charters in other people's districts to protect your own enrollment while gaining funds from others from taking an administrative cut for oversight. You'll remember in my second video, I talked a lot about this idea: if you have one student that comes into your district, you gain about $8,500 in funding. If you lose a student, you lose $8,500 in funding. So if you take up sponsoring charter students as a means to recover lost students or average daily attendance and the funding that goes with that, you end up having to sponsor 27 charter students for every one you lose from the district. Now, in a recent editorial, someone is saying that I said, well, you lose tax money or property tax money or something. You know what? I got some Q-tips for you. You need them. Clean out your ears. It's about student funding. When you lose one student, you lose $8,500, and you have to sponsor 27 students to get that money back. Now, specifically what's happening in Acton Agua Dulce Unified, you have Meadowlark Elementary, you have High Desert Middle School, and you have Vasquez High School. Over here was Acton School. It closed a while back. It was temporarily used as a charter school for a year. But you have Agua Dulce, which was closed as a district school. When it closed as a district school, the idea was there wasn't enough enrollment to keep it open and keep it profitable. And so it was used to house a charter school, but not just one, several. And the idea was because suddenly the school became so full with students that we couldn't fill or hold the capacity for all the students of those charters, we would go over here and we would open up a school here in someone else's boundaries. And then while that's going on, we've got another school or something over here in Pasadena, and then we've got these satellite schools of one configuration or another, totaling up about 15 schools total. Now it's being said that this whole plan was kind of a brilliant, cutting-edge, modern education thing, when in actuality it was about money. And I'm always being fact-checked now, so let's take a look at some of the historic documents that will tell you what the reasoning was for all of this, and this school being too full, necessitating this one and this one. All right, well, we're fact-checking this inception of this charter school plan to determine whether it was founded in a cutting-edge educational brilliance or if it was the product of a dire fiscal circumstance. We're looking at a court document here, Newhall versus Agua Dulce. Let's start with this one. To understand what this case was really all about, and these are the court's words, not one of the school districts. Acton Agua's plan to address its dire fiscal status is to authorize charter schools and obtain revenue through oversight fees and additional payments made by the charter schools through a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU. To avoid the negative fiscal consequences of losing average daily attendance to the charter schools, Acton Agua has authorized charters that will operate outside of the Acton Agua boundaries and within the boundaries of surrounding districts. We go to page 8 of the document. We kind of find where this idea about out-of-district charters was born. The May 16, 2013 board meeting. We referenced the superintendent here told Acton Agua's board that students were leaving the district in droves, affecting ADA, and having a negative impact on the district's budget. And then the superintendent devised a plan he characterized as a little radical, explaining that Acton Agua was embarking on a county-wide expansion of high-quality charters, which were independent study programs by large, proposing to go outside the district to build a financial model for significant expansion. And then on page 9, you see that a board member who has been one to fact check me lately, that same one, had an explanation about this plan. The part of the charter school initiative we're engaged in right now is to create an alternative source of funding so that we can maintain our local school and get out from underneath the habits being wreaked on us by the state. So we blame the state, and then we explain the alternative source of funding created by the proposed charter school initiative includes non-negotiable agreements that charge each charter 3.5% of gross revenues generated by the charter school, and another take of 3% for special education. And finally, on page 26 of the document, we're discussing a new public hearing is required for the matter at hand here. But within that paragraph is something very important. It says, Acton Agua's expressed intention that the CSA Charter School Act be used to create an alternative source of funding so that school districts can get out from underneath the havoc that's being wreaked on them by the state. There's that board members and justifies the means mentality there. Shows that there is no rational connection between the Acton Agua Board's failure to consider all statutory factors and its decision. And there it is. The court agrees revenue generation by authorizing out-of-district charter schools is not within the purpose and scope of the CSA or Charter School Act. So, over here, this is the Pasadena area, and over here is the Santa Clarita Valley area. The senator over here is Betty Lou. The senator over here was Fran Pavley. Okay, so these people didn't like this plan at all. It had impacts, and remember, I always remind you, the kids that go to these charter schools, they go of their own free will. So there's a lot of back and forth about money and attendance. Again, and it's all about the $8,500. Anyway, this started to get the attention of everyone when this district, when one of these districts here, Newhall, filed suit against Acton Agua Dulce. So about the time this happened, the State Assembly Education Committee had a hearing to try to determine what was going on here, if this was actually a legitimate use of the Charter School Act, which was meant to take a full school and site it temporarily outside of your boundaries if necessary, or if this whole plan here was a scheme to generate money. And so our superintendent went up to the hearing, and let's have a look at an exchange between him and the chairperson of the Assembly Education Committee.
For an attendance area of 2,200, you have approved 14 charter schools. Are you telling me that 50% of those students or 50% of those teachers are coming from your attendance area?
That is accurate, absolutely. And as we grow and as we offer those programs down in LA for our community, remember we're a community.
You're telling me that of the 14 schools, 50% of the attendance is coming from 14 schools that you've chartered, 50% of the attendance of those schools, and in the charter petition, are coming from your 2,200, because you only have, of the new 7 you've chartered, you only have 1,200 students left.
I understand that all but 2 of those aren't even open yet, so I have no way of...
Well, but you've already approved the petition. On the petition, you had to have had 50% of those students from your school district. So you're telling me of those 7 petitions that you approved, that on every one of those petitions, 50% of those students unduplicated are coming from your school district.
If you remember, part of our discussion was that the petition can also be submitted with teacher signatures.
So you're telling me that
Those were,
50% of the
yes.
teachers are teachers in your school district? With 1,200 students, how many teachers do you have?
I don't know, I'd have to do off
You want me to do it quick? If you had 25 to 1, we could figure that out pretty simple. That'd be 48 students. So you've approved 7 more petitions, and those petitions contain 50%. It's pretty unbelievable. Now I was told when SciTech was looking to open in LA, they needed someone who could approve a petition in a relatively short period of time, and they were told to go to your district. And the petition was approved, what, in a couple months' time, and you're charging 3.5% administration when the law clearly says 1 to 3%. So what is the total amount that you are getting off the top from these 14 charter schools, both current and projected?
Again, I'd have to go back and do the calculations. I don't know. Honestly, we haven't.
You're superintendent, and you've approved them. Do you have any idea?
Our superintendent is broadcasting over anybody that's watching the assembly committee, doesn't know really how many students are in the district, doesn't know how many teachers there are servicing the schools, and most importantly, doesn't know how much income is being generated from the charters. So after I watched the Assembly Committee on Education and the testimony of the AADUSD superintendent, I wrote an editorial in the Agua Dulce Country Journal, July 12, 2014. You can see that there. And I expressed some concern back then in 2014, and it's right here. I'm wondering if the long-term interest of the district students, the quality of the curriculum, the stability of the teachers' jobs, and the solvency of the district itself are taking a back seat. Was this innovative plan to change the business of public education, or is it a school board led down a fairy tale path by staff consultants and attorneys who didn't know what was legal and what was not? And then, you know, some newspapers, they give your editorials out to people so they can get ahead of the news or whatever it is. Anyway, the superintendent here talks about that the senator and the committee chairperson don't understand the issues, that he was reluctant to give away too much information in light of the fact that the district is facing a lawsuit filed by another school district regarding charter school issues. And I was evasive and obtuse on purpose, he told this reporter in a recent telephone interview. Yeah, once again, I don't get it. You have, as a public servant, the ability to decide when you're going to tell the truth, how much of it you're going to tell. I don't know. Yeah, that's just way out of bounds for me. So now fast forward. Senator Pavley up here, what she did was she sponsored a bill, 1263, which isn't a good number for Acton Agua Dulce. That's the same number of bill now that's trying to control our groundwater and our wells. Anyway, that morphed in after a governor's veto about the language being too obtuse and just pointed at several school districts into 739. That bill was vetoed pending the outcome of an audit. Now, over here, Senator Liu put pressure on the Joint Legislative Audit Committee and got them to audit. The state auditor is going to come in and look at the chartering practices of 3 different districts. Guess who's on that list? Yeah, Acton Agua Dulce Unified. There's an 8-plank or 8-point audit that's coming in to look. So, in the end, what we've got is we put charters somewhere else. Pasadena has a shut one down. Los Angeles LACO has, not LACO, but Los Angeles Unified has shot one down through court. So everywhere we go out into someone else's territory, we either get sued, there's lawsuits and legislative pressures. And again, how many kids at 27 kids to get $8,500 do you need before you learn your lesson? The last video I showed you was in fact check that for a case that's been claimed to be closed, exactly the same one up here, that's still open to this day. My last video said there was $50,000 in legal fees just over the last several months. Add another 7 onto that because it was in the last school board meeting paperwork. Anyway, so there's constant pressure coming in every time we do this. So what is the end game? What's happening now? Well, in my world, here's exactly where we're at. Senator Liu's Charter Oversight and Monitoring Audit, number 2016141, approved by the Joint Legislative Audit Committee for a vote to 8-1, is coming our way. That audit has 8 objectives, ranging anywhere from whether or not you are within your geographical boundaries, your reasons for citing, what the 3-year projections and fiscal information looks like on each one of the charters, and it names a charter for each one of the 3 districts, including ours that's being audited. But at the end, it says that you can review and assess any other issues of significant to the audit. So they can just pry open your books on everything you got, ranging from your school district to every charter you sponsor, all 15 of them. Now, there's 3 districts, New Jerusalem, AV Union High, and Acton Agua Dulce, that are the subject of these audits. And, well, at least AV Union is doing something about it. Their charter school, Los Angeles County Online High School, that was targeted by this audit, is the school board there has, just as of the other day here, Friday, November 4th, 2016, is telling this charter school, you know what, get it together or we're going to revoke your charter. And then the governor's bill 739, his revocation, says that that there's going to be an audit happening. That's this audit. Let's review the audit when it's released next spring to determine whether the scope of the issue and what, if any, policies changes are necessary. That's the bill would prohibit a school district that has a negative certification from authorizing a charter school to operate outside of their attendance boundaries. So negative certification means you as a district without the charter income wouldn't be able to meet your needs for the current and upcoming fiscal year. So we had this report. I've talked about this in another one of my videos. It has all kinds of pie charts and everything about each one of our charters, but there's no fiscal information here. Fiscal information about how much is being made, well, the superintendent wouldn't tell the assembly chair, and I don't know. I really don't know. Does anybody know?
Hi, my name is Nan, and I am wondering how many charter schools do you have under your umbrella to date? How much revenue are you getting from those charter schools? And what would happen if the California Department of Education pulled the plug on that scheme?
Scheme is a harsh word, but we'll go with that. We have 15 under our umbrella. As the charter schools are bringing in approximately yearly around $4 million, which is helping us thrive as a community. If and when the state decides to rein in on the charter schools, that's when we will get creative once again as a collective, and we will get federal money, we will file for bonds, and we will try to go out into the community and see what else we can do to raise money for our kids.
And how much of your budget is reliant upon that charter school money?
Honestly, I can't give you a direct answer. I know that we are ahead of where we need to be. We have about a 7% in reserve right now that is helping us thrive as a community. So in regards to giving you direct answers and numbers on the budget, that's not a collective of information I have to give you tonight. I am, again, running for school board, and my job is to learn. And when I set upon it, I will listen, I will learn, and I will have the direct answers. It's a great question.
So there you have it. 5 years of board meetings for me. I never could get anybody to say in open session how much we're making off the charters or what we would do if we lose the money. So there you have it. One of my competitors has a number but I don't guess we know what to do. So now people are asking me, hey, Pfalzgraf, what would you have done? What would you have done? What's the alternative? What's the alternative? Well, I got an alternative for you. First off, get me a time machine. Let me go back 3 or 4 years. And here's what I do. Pretty simple. First off, if you come to me with a charter petition, are half of the signatures the students who are going to go there? Are they in your district? 2, are half of the teachers who signed the petition, do they work for you? 3, is the charter or resource center, whatever we're calling it this week, cited in your district? Yes or no? If it's no, do you have the permission of the district where the school, the resource center, whatever it's going to be is located? Do you have the written permission? The answer to any of these is no. Sorry, you get no from me. That's my alternative. I'd like to thank each of you that's watched my videos for taking the time to do that, for listening to what I have to say. And hopefully you can see that I'm a serious candidate. I've immersed myself in this, and I'm ready to go to work for you. I think I'm informed well enough that there's no learning curve with me. So, for those of you that have voted for me already in early voting, thank you very much. For those of you that are intending to do that on Tuesday, thank you too. And for those that haven't made up your mind yet, I hope you'll seriously consider me. So, thank you. It's been a pleasure to tell you what I'm all about.